Critical Role's The Legend of Vox Machina Season 3 is just weeks away, but what if you can't wait that long for your animated fantasy fix? You're in luck because we're breaking down 5 different must-watch fantasy anime for 5 different types of Critical Role fans.
That would be amazing.
We'll break down 5 fantasy anime we think perfectly capture the vibe of 5 different groups of critters. So why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons so we can keep these videos coming, and then let's talk anime for Critical Role fans. Our first recommendation is for a group of critters we call the D&D veterans. They were playing D&D and TTRPGs before Critical Role ever started, and it was their love of these games that drew them into Critical Role to begin with. And for those critters, we strongly suggest the classic Record of Lodoss War. This anime could be considered one of the first actual plays ever, as it's basically the Legend of Vox Machina for a TTRPG campaign run by the anime's creator. And it will instantly feel familiar to those Critical Role fans and D&D veterans alike. Each character in the anime is very clearly a recognizable class, like warrior or rogue or wizard, and you've got classic races like dwarves and elves. Everything here just feels like you are watching the animated version of a very polished actual play, which makes a lot of sense because the episodes are all based off of the session logs from a real campaign, so it's basically exactly what you're watching. It even does an amazing job of showing the progression of characters as the party starts out very weak, but grows and levels in very believable ways. And on top of that, it has one of the best soundtracks out there, and an animation style that somehow holds up shockingly well even after nearly 4 decades. So if you want an anime that feels like you're playing in a D&D campaign, check out the adventures of Parn and the rest of his party in the original Record of Lodoss War. The next group of critters is the Found Family fanatics. Critical Role fans here for the intense bonds that grow between the party and the way they come together as a family. Found Family critters are here for those big emotional moments and those deep bonds between the cast, and they're probably on their 3rd full rewatch of the Mighty Nine by now. But Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash has exactly what they're looking for and plenty of it. Easily the most realistic isekai anime ever, the classic people from another world transported to a fantasy setting trope gets turned on its head, as these teenagers don't have any memory of the world they came from, and they must immediately face some brutal hardships right out of the gate that force them to form very deep bonds just to stay alive. Have you ever considered how emotionally traumatizing it must be to try and kill a goblin for the first time only to realize you have no idea how to handle a weapon? This anime deals with trying to create that found family in a world that you are just not prepared to handle and is definitely out to kill you. And no anime has ever dealt with the reality of that better than Grimgar. From extreme highs to extreme lows, no series captures that party dynamic of becoming something more than just a group of adventurers quite like Grimgar. So if you want an anime about a group of strangers who are forged into a family by a nearly unending series of hardships that also happens to look absolutely stunning, give Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash a try. Next up, we have the Initiative Trackers. Those critters that are just here for that sweet, sweet Critical Role combat. And for those fans, we strongly suggest you check out Fran, Beyond Journey's End.
とんでもない戦士になる。
The story of an elven wizard who joined the hero's party and defeated the demon lord as she decides to resume her journey decades later after the hero dies of old age. Fran not only packs in some great emotional moments as Fran deals with the realization that a lot of the people she knew and traveled with are just gone now, but it also has what most people would agree is the best, most visually stunning fantasy battles ever created for anime. Period. From magical battles that completely filled the screen with streaks of light and incredible explosions, to the amazingly fluid fight as the axe-wielding warrior Stark 1v1s an ancient red dragon and comes out on top.
おい！なんで撃たねえ！言われた通りにやっただろ！一 一人で戦えってか。ふざけんなよクソババア。やっぱお前も
もう死んでいるよ。
The action is both over the top, but also incredibly clear and stunningly animated. It's like watching a high-level party going Nova every single fight, and it just never disappoints. From wizard battles to warriors duels, combat junkies will have an absolute field day with the beautiful battles of Fran, Journey's End. Our fourth group is, and you know we had to have them, the Critical Role shippers. They're here for that inter-party romance, that will they won't they romantic tension, and for them we recommend ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. While there are a lot of fantasy anime that push relationship drama into flat-out fan service, there is one that offers several different versions of that kind of incredibly deep and emotional relationship that gets formed on Critical Role. And just like Critical Role, ReZero can often veer from having you laughing out loud to ugly crying within the span of a single episode. The main character, Subaru Natsuki, is transported into another world where he gets instantly smitten by a beautiful young half-elf named Amelia, but that initial simple infatuation becomes something much deeper and much more profound as the story progresses. And as his relationships deepen with all of this cast of new characters he finds himself adventuring with, his story hits some incredibly dark places and tests these feelings constantly. You get love, you get love, you get heartache and rejection. You get one of the all-time most contested best girl rivalries in anime, as Subaru is forced to make some truly heart-wrenching decisions about the relationships around him. And even the NPCs in the story have some absolutely staggering relationship drama of their own. Go watch the episode where Wilhelm fights the white whale and try not to tear up. It's basically impossible. So if you are watching Critical Role for the Amadna of it all, do yourself a favor and check out ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. And finally, the Sad Boy Squad. This category is for those Percy and Caleb lovers out there that just need a tortured main character to really latch onto their media. And while there are a ton of anime featuring edgelords so powerful they can literally create magical nukes, there was really only one choice for fans of powerful but deeply tortured and broken main characters, and it has to be the original Berserk.
お前らの親玉にことづてを頼みたい。黒い剣士が来た。
Guts, the main character, is deeply scarred, both emotionally and physically, and even shares Percy's fascination with firearms, as his prosthetic arm is a literal hand cannon. And much like Caleb, he is haunted by the ramifications of his past actions and how they effectively destroyed his family and all the people he loved. Berserk is definitely for the adult crowd, and if you stick with the original anime, which we suggest, expect a lot of violence and some very dark moments. But if you came to Critical Role through your love of an angsty protagonist with a deeply troubled past, Berserk and its main character Guts check every single box. Utterly obsessed with revenge? Check. Willing to kill anyone or anything that stands in the way of that revenge? Check. An unthinkable betrayal in his past? Check. An equally tortured and broken love interest he's trying to track down? Great big check. And it definitely doesn't hurt that his iconic Dragon Slayer sword makes Cloud's Buster Sword from Final Fantasy look like a letter opener. So if you can't get emotionally invested in a character unless they wake up screaming from some past nightmare every single day, go and give the original Berserk anime a watch. And those are our 5 anime picks for 5 different types of Critical Role fans. Let us know which anime you checked out, or if you think of one that we should have put on the list. Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.